485.
Okay.
John, I'm going to text it to you.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm not going to text it to you.
Okay.
I'm going to email it to you.
Thank you. You're muted because you are this call. Press 4-6 to unmute. The call is being recorded.
I believe I'm there. I'm going to mute myself on the mic. Okay.
Excellent. John, you've got a feedback loop now. Turn your speakers off on your computer.
Okay.
So you're, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. If it's helpful for people, I will share my screen. And we can look at the, you have the, there's the agenda. There we go. There's our agenda.
Okay. So so you'd like me to start, Caroline?
Yes, whenever you're ready, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, thank everyone for their patience in my technical problems. So I'm calling to order the May 5th, 2020 meeting of the Rollinsford Planning Board. And given the agenda, we are going to first review the minutes from February 4th, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes or have any comments?
I'll move to accept them as proposed.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Not hearing. Okay.
Is there a second?
All right. I think I heard a second. So all in favor of approving the February 4th, 2020 minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right. I believe it passes unanimously. All right. Caroline, is there any correspondence for the board?
No.
Okay. All right. So the applicant and his representative are not here yet. Is that right?
Sarah, or maybe I can ask Aunt Wells. You have representation from Norway, is that right? And Norway is running late tonight, potentially.
So
Yes.
he talked to me. He's at another land use meeting. He'll be here very shortly.
Okay.
All right. So in the interim, I'd like to welcome Harry to our board. Thank you, Harry, for being a member of the alternate on the board. I think we just wait, Caroline.
Unless Sarah has her notes at the ready, we can talk about the fact that Michelle, our planning consultant, and Tom Clark, our land use administrator, and Sarah and I are now meeting regularly to go over process issues and improve documents and so forth. So I don't know that we have to go into the details of that tonight, but I just wanted to make the board aware of the fact that we're working on things, including new applications for applicants, checklists, recommendations for changing our regulations to make them easier to understand, streamline them, make them consistent and clear for both the four of us who process applications and the applicants. So John, Sarah is reminding me that there is a page that you need to read, and I'm going to ask Sarah if she will email it to you for your convenience. But
Okay.
meeting is taking place electronically under the authority of the Governor's Executive Order 23, and we do need to read a piece of paper about that, including how this meeting is happening and the phone number, which I just emailed you. So if you would stand by, and before we handle the case for tonight, you can fit in the reading of that lovely prelude.
All right. Very good. Very good.
So while you're waiting for that, I'll just tell you that Michelle is, we're benefiting from Michelle being a certified planner for another community, that she's providing us with lots of ideas for improvements. So I'm not really ready to go into the details of that tonight, where we're going to go with that, but Sarah, Tom, and Michelle and I are going to go over the various applications for the planning board, site review, major site review, minor site review, the checklist for each, and as well as zoning applications, and then propose revisions to those applications to those boards. And likewise, suggestions for revisions of those regulations that the planning board governs, vision regs and site plan regulations. So that's super exciting. We're growing up, we're trying, and it's going to get better. So stay tuned about that. Would be to have something emailed out to the board before the June planning board meeting, so that we can propose some kind of changes, adopt some new form. You know, I'm hoping we can integrate and approve something by June. That may be aggressive, but we'll see.
Okay. I still haven't gotten that instruction yet, and I apologize.
All right, I'll see if I can.
I'm not sure I can find it. I
right.
have a printed copy of it, but I don't know where it is. I can't find the email that you sent it, Caroline. Do you, maybe you can find it in yours?
I'm sure I can find it. Yeah. On its way, Don.
It's way okay. Great. Okay. All right, so I have it. Caroline, would you like me to read it at this point?
Yes, if you would, please.
All right. This is the entitled Town of Rollinsford Rights to Know Meeting Checklist. I'm sorry, I'm pausing, Caroline, because this says these instructions refer to the select board. I can read them and change the word select board.
Yes, please do. Yes.
Okay, I just
Yes.
want to make sure I'm not reading the wrong set of instructions. So, as chair of the Wallingford Planning Board, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which is authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We previously gave notice to the public as to how to access the meeting using Google Hangouts, and instructions are provided on the town website at wallingford.nh.us. If anyone has a problem, please call, in terms of connecting to the meeting tonight, please call 534-1049 or email at admin@wallingford.nh.us. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. And suggesting that I take a roll call attendance, and that's the end of that. So, Caroline, do you suggest I take roll call attendance?
Yes, I do. And roll call for all the votes, if you would, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So, I think Sarah, does that you do that?
I can.
Thank you.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
So I have John Hinsman, Chair,
Here.
Tom Clark, Wallingford Code Enforcement and Building Inspector,
Here.
Glenn Chase, alternate,
Right here.
Richard Fogarty,
Here.
Caroline Kendall, ex officio,
Here.
Harry Knowles, newly appointed alternate,
Here.
Kevin Haynes,
Here.
Sue Nastasi,
Here.
and that is it. We're all here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. So, Caroline, I assume we're still waiting for the applicant's representative?
This is
No,
Scott Lauer. I just came on.
Norm Peterson. and
Okay.
Norm,
No, his name is Scott Lawler. Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if you can see me.
We can see you, but your name says Norm Peterson.
Yes, I'm sorry. My computer has named it Norm Peterson.
All right. So, Mr. Lawler, this is John Hinton, the chair of the planning board. I think we're prepared to have you start your presentation if you'd like. And if,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board. Scott Lawler from Norway Plains Associates, here representing S.J. Cantwell for a proposed site plan located at 128 Greenview Drive. The parcel is 2.86 acres, zone industrial. It is located, like I said, off of Greenview Drive. It's generally a vacant lot, although they do have a contractor storage area currently, which is part of the ongoing construction on the adjacent property, which SJ Cantwell is performing the site work for. The site's topography generally flows towards the west, a down gradient, a couple feet. We had jurisdictional wetlands delineated along the toe of the slope by Mark West, a certified wetland scientist, and that shows on the design plans. SJ Cantwell is proposing to construct 2 buildings to become part of their main office headquarters. The first building will be a 2,000 square foot wood frame building, 40 by 50. And that will be operate mostly as their main office, where they'll have their staff and meetings take place. Adjacent to that will be a 8,000 square foot metal framed building that will be 80 by 100. That will be servicing, used to be able to have their equipment serviced, excuse me, and have storage of their equipment. We are proposing 22 parking spaces, with one of them being ADA accessible. Parking spaces will be 6 along the front of the building, and the remaining 17 out in the back, mostly for employees that will park there. There will be a small gravel section located at the rear of the proposed development. That gravel area, about 12,000 square feet, will be utilized for offloading of heavy equipment and other tracked vehicles to park there, which would otherwise damage the paved surfaces. We are proposed the site to be all graded such that all the storm water from the impervious surfaces is collected and sent towards the sediment forebay located at the edge of the graveled area, at which point the sediments settle out and the stormwater would then flow into the large infiltration basin. That infiltration basin has been designed to attenuate and hold back up through the 50-year storm event and allow the water to infiltrate back into the ground, maintaining the bottom of the basin is maintaining the 3-foot separation of seasonal high water, which is typically what the Department of Environmental Services alteration train would be looking for. The site will be serviced by an on-site septic system that will be located behind the wood frame building to the south. The site will also be serviced by municipal water. The applicant is proposing to bring a 2-inch water main down from the cul-de-sac where the town water is located to service for domestic purposes on the site. Then that would be in lieu of drilling a well. There will be one proposed utility pole to get the power from one side of Greenview Drive over to our side, at which point the utilities will be dropped down and run underground to the building. The wood frame building will be have stone veneer and cedar shakes in a gray tones. The steel building will be slate in color with a black roof. Again, it'll be metal panels. With the general roof sloping from north to south to direct all the stormwater away from the overhead doors to the rear of that building, to which point it's captured in the drainage swales and directed towards the stormwater basin. That is, the site will also have some overhead, some pole lights as well as some building mounted lights. These lights will be LED and they will all be down shielded. There was a lighting analysis plan provided with cut sheets showing what the fixtures would look like. The site again was designed meeting all of the current alteration of terrain bureau requirements, despite the fact that the development is not sized to the point that it warrants going through Department of Environmental Services. But we did design it according to their rules, which exceed the town of Rollins for its requirements. The only state permit that is required for the project is approval of the on-site septic system. The septic system has been designed and has been provided with this plan set. We have not submitted to the Department of Environmental Services at this time. We didn't want to have to go back through DES if this board, land use board, decides to make changes, which would have resulted in unnecessary fees to go back through Department of Environmental Service. But it has been designed to accommodate the minimum 300-gallon commercial septic system. From once construction is imminent, the site contractor will have to prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan, sometimes called SWIP, and file a notice of intent with the EPA as part of the general construction permit due to the size of the project impacting more than 1 acre and having a point source discharge. Those are really the only two state and federal permits required for this project. I believe that summarizes the site plan. I do see that the Cant Wells are on this video conference. So if you or the board member have any questions for the applicant, they're here and I can answer them to the best I can. Thank you.
John, you're muted and we can't hear you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I muted myself during Mr. Lawler's presentation. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Lawler. I didn't know if at this time, Tom, I could have you comment on the proposal as you deem fit, as well as to follow up with the applicant on Michelle Mears' technical review memo, as she's not here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did supply the applicant as well as the project engineer a copy of that. And it seems to me it's a fairly straightforward project. Undeveloped site, certainly an approved use under the zoning requirements. I do have a couple of questions other than what Michelle wrote. I noticed, Scott, that you have the dumpster. It looks to be on a gravel base. I think it should be an a pervious surface. It shouldn't be just sitting on gravel, should it?
No, Mr. Chairman, we can call out to have a concrete pad placed that the dumpster would sit on.
Right, and there was the question earlier about the amount of construction activity on this particular site, but I did discuss this with the property owner a while ago. He is, as Scott mentioned, the site contractor for the project next door, so there's a certain amount of activity related to that. He is also running a construction business so that his vehicles are coming and going on a pretty regular basis. And he is doing some on-site work that's primarily cleaning up the site. So we discussed it and we're sure that he's not doing anything in connection with the specific approval, but there is some activity there. But that was agreed to. I guess outside of that, Mr. Chairman, I really don't have a whole lot.
Mr. Chairman, you're muted again.
Sorry, I apologize. I'll try to thank you for prompting me. I think what I'm going to do, thank you first of all, Tom. I'm going to ask the applicant some of the questions raised on Michelle's memo. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to questions from the board. Mr. Lawler, in terms of the question about will there be customers coming to this site? And if so, what is the anticipated number of customers on a daily basis?
Mr. Chairman, Scott Lawler, again, I believe the planner may have misunderstood the proposed use. This is a general site contractor. It's not a retail business. So they are not anticipating having customers come to the site. They may hold site meetings with clients that they're doing projects with, but it's not a retail business that would generate a number of customers on a daily basis.
All right. I'm going to follow up so in terms of the planner asks about the proposed gravel area, asking what's the purpose of it and will equipment be stored outside on the gravel area?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Scott Lawler again. The gravel area, as I described in my presentation, is generally there for the offloading and the parking of larger vehicles that may or may not be tracked that you'd want to keep off your paved surfaces. And yes, there will be equipment stored on site, excavators or front end loader or something like that, that is generally associated with their business. But in the calculations for the stormwater management system, it was assumed that it would maintain the same runoff coefficient, i.e. 98, as if it was impervious or pavement. So we have sized the stormwater management system to account for it.
All right. And forgive me if I'm asking some questions you may have covered in your presentation. It's a fairly detailed presentation and application. So there's a note that you will need to meet with the Rollinsford Water and Sewer District regarding service. That's part of your process?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant will need to meet with them to discuss the construction and tying into the municipal water.
Okay. And the property does abut residential use in terms of Mr. Kuchar's property, right? Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, it is. The property does abut a residential use property. The residential house is approximately 600 feet from the proposed parcel or development being proposed on. And they are maintaining, there's a wooded buffer that they're maintaining along that property edge, much of which is within the 25-foot wetland buffer as shown on our site plans.
All right. On page C1 of your plans, plat note A, it says to the effect that landscaping on the site is integral and that landscaping shall be reasonably maintained and when dead or removed, replaced. I took a drive out there this morning and it looks like there isn't much vegetation left on the site because of perhaps preparatory activities. And I think the plan needs to be updated to give greater detail as to the landscaping and vegetation that is going to be there. I didn't know if you could comment on that.
If it's the wishes of this board, we can add some additional landscaping along that buffer area we've just discussed between the development and the residential use. I mean, again, I've asked the applicant if right now, even without leaves on the trees, if they could see the residents' home, and they said, barely. But if the board wishes to see additional landscaping, then we could add some evergreens or something along on that line to strengthen up areas that might be less than dense during the winter months.
All right, so I just want to follow up on that question. I mean, your plat notes say the landscaping is integral, and I think you're saying that you're only concerned with vegetation along the line of abutment with Mr. Kuchar's property. Is that right?
That's correct. Again, the site plan next door that was done for the storage sheds, they were required by the board to add in some plantings along that edge. So it seems contradictory to have another set of plants along that edge.
Okay. Note D on page C1 talks about snow storage areas. Being a layman, it seems to me that given the percentage of the plan allocated to snow storage might be a bit small compared to the overall property, and I didn't know if you would comment on that.
I can comment on that. I mean, those are the general areas. If the snow piles get excessive, the Cantwells do have the equipment necessary to make sure that it gets pushed back. Those areas were picked as to allow the snow melt to then flow into the stormwater treatment center and not flow off the property.
Okay. In terms of runoff from melting snow, has there been consideration given to where the runoff would go, and in particular, where water sources are located? Could you speak to that, please?
As the snow would melt, it would flow into the sediment forebay because of, the swales that are designed on both sides of the parking area. The sediments would stay in the sediment forebay, and the water would then flow up and into the infiltration basin and ultimately infiltrate back in the ground.
Okay. One second, please. When you talked about in your presentation about the lighting, I think you used the phrase down shielded. Did you use that phrase in this show? So could you tell us what you mean by it?
I guess I should have been more clear. They're down casted versus down shielded. So if you look at the pictures on the lighting plan, you'll see that the fixtures point straight down. And because they're LED, they don't have a luminant that is below the horizon of the steel fixture. So essentially, light has to go down. It can't get broadcasted sideways as much. And they meet the dark sky compliance.
Okay, and forgive me, what does dark sky compliance refer to?
It's industry standards for making sure that we try to reduce the light pollution that is occurring for
Okay.
the standards of halogen lights.
I sort of, all right. And is the plan that the lights on the building and the poles be on 24/7, or is it estimated they're going to be shut off at certain times of the day or not, or the night?
I believe the Cantwells plan on having some of the lights stay on for security purposes, but then they would be able to control some of the lights so it's not as bright when they don't have as many people on site. So during non-business hours, they can reduce the number of lights and maintain some lights for security purposes.
And would that be an issue that we would address on the plan, or how would that how would that concern be addressed? Because I think light pollution is a concern.
We can revise the plan to indicate which lights would stay on all the time. Obviously, reducing the other lights to just during, half an hour before and half an hour after standard business hours.
All right. I just have a couple more questions that I'm not going to take all the questions. In terms of if I was to look at a reference guide in terms of lighting, what would I look at? What would be an industry standard I could find on the internet in terms of lighting?
You sort of caught me there. Norway Plains retains the services from Sharon Incorporated. They're a lighting consulting firm. This is their business. We send them a site plan. We send them a copy of the town ordinances. They review the ordinances and ensure that the light fixtures that they pick will meet those requirements. But I'm sure there are plenty of articles on the internet that talk about the dark sky friendly and light pollution. But essentially, we've retained the services of a professional lighting consultant to come up with this plan.
Okay. And so, for instance, on page L1 of your plans, there's a lot of numeric figures on that plan, and there's not a key along with those figures. How does someone like me understand what those mean?
The figures are foot candles, and the squiggly lines are what they call isothermal or iso illuminations. They're basically kind of like all at the same level, and it's how the pattern of light illuminations go out. Essentially, what this plan is meant to show is that at the property line, we have zero foot candles distributing from these light fixtures. So you would want to look at this plan to see if you've got any foot candles that are over zero at the property lines, to make sure that you're not having any light pollution on the abutting lands. And this plan demonstrates that has been met.
Okay. 2 or 3 more questions and I'm done. On C4 of your plan, general construction phasing, you say in 2 that in terms of temporary stabilization, it'll be done no later than 45 days. And yet on project-specific construction phasing on number 17, you talk about disturbed areas being stabilized no longer than 21 days. Can you describe why there's a difference there?
Well, the temporary stabilization is generally meant for ongoing projects. You don't need to do the permanent stabilization at that time. But what the project-specific construction phasing is indicating is that after you've got a site completed, the side slopes and everything, and they're not going to be altered again, that you want to get those stabilized as soon as possible or within 21 days.
All right. And I know that Mr. Kuchar is going to address this, but I might as well ask the question. What have the applicant, been doing about the concern that he has regarding his property?
Mr. Cantwell, would you like to speak upon that?
Can you repeat the question? You kind of broke up.
I apologize. So I'm going to, obviously Mr. Kuchar is going to speak during the public hearing, but I just thought I would ask you if you're doing anything to address the concerns that he has regarding his property.
Yes. So we met a week or 2 ago, and he brought up some concerns that a couple years ago he started seeing more water enter his land because of a a pre-existing pile when we purchased the land. And so what we did is we tried altering the land to help keep the water on our property and stop pushing it to his.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. All right.
Yep.
I'm done with my questions for now. It's probably easier than trying to raise hands if I'll go around to the various board members and ask if they have any questions, and thank the board members for their patience in the public. Mr. Haynes, do you have any questions?
John, hold on 1 second. Mr. Cantwell, can you just give me your name and your address for the record?
Yes, it's Steve Cantwell.
Okay.
And you want my home address?
No, I mean, it's actually, the address is less important because it's on the application. Can I use the 44 Portland Ave? Is that okay?
Yes, that is fine.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to Kevin if that's okay. Kevin, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only question I have is in regards to some photos that I saw that were provided by the abutter. And just as a general location, is there any way that I could be told where those were taken from in reference to page C1 of the property?
Mark, you're muted. So if you move your mouse around, you can click, there's a microphone. The white bar will show up on the bottom of your screen, and you can click the microphone, and there you go.
Okay. Them pictures were taken on the land that abuts me along the edge of the field. There was 2 pictures taken, and I also sent you a letter. If somebody would read the letter, that'll address all of my concerns. I didn't read the letter up, so I thought you people were the chairman was gonna read the letter, but, if that's possible. And the pictures just showed the water coming down the field, and I just want to address it. And I wanted to go on record that I met with Steve, and we had a good meeting, and I don't have a problem. He says he's going to take care of the problem, and if that's so, that's great. I just want to be on record that as of right now, we have a problem in 2 spots. The water is flowing onto my land, so I just want to address that because I don't need any more water. So, if somebody could somebody read that letter, or do you want me to get it off my computer?
I don't have a problem reading the letter, but I'll be honest, I'm having trouble finding it. I know I saw it. If you have it available, Mr. Kuchar, I would ask you to read it if you've got it reasonably available to you.
Well, I'm going to have to get it here. 1 second. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, this is Kevin again. I read the letter and I was fine with it too. I'm just wondering, as a point of reference, were those pictures taken closer to the Greenview Drive side, or were they taken, if you're looking at page C1, like the middle run there, where it says 50-foot wetback setbacks for structure, was it taken to the left or the right of that wording as it runs along the site? I'm just trying to get a reference point of where you saw this. And I understand this is a site that is in development. There's no final grading involved here. I was just looking for a reference as to where they were taken along that abutter line.
All right. So are we waiting for Mr. Kuchar, I believe, to find that letter, or should we return to him?
I have the letter if,
All right. I can't tell you, without showing you, I can't exactly tell you the water is coming in on the side that abuts me. So if you were looking at from Greenview at the front of Steve's property, it would be to the right.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the board, share my screen and show the letter and read it.
Sure, please do that, Caroline, please.
Dear Planning Board members, for several years I have voiced my concerns to the Planning Board at the public hearings that were held for the oil recycling plant and the storage unit projects. My concerns were never an objection of the projects, but about the water that may be directed to my property. When the oil plant was built, a mountain of sand was moved across the street and piled on the property that Mark Wentworth had purchased. That pile of sand was approximately 20 feet from my property. That spring, during the heavy rains, I noticed that the muddy-colored runoff from the Wentworth property in the vicinity of the pile of sand was entering my field and running downward along the edge of the field for approximately 400 feet, and then re-entering into the woods and into the swampy area between my property and the abutters. I voiced my concerns several times about this, but the problem was not corrected. This spring, I noticed that I was getting more runoff in this area as well as another along the property boundary. I believe this was being caused by the site work that was taking place on the lot. Around 2 weeks ago, I met with Steve Cantwell and told him about my concerns with the runoff, and I showed him the location where I thought we had a problem. Steve saw the problem that I was talking about and assured me that he would take care of this, and that the stormwater management area would be collecting most of the runoff. Steve seemed very sincere with addressing the problem, and I believe that he can take care of it. I'm writing this letter so that the planning board and the town are aware of my concerns, and then this letter can be added to the minutes of the public hearing. I have looked at the plans for the property, and from what I can see, everything looks good. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Mark Kuchar, dated April 23rd, 2020.
Thank you for reading that, Caroline.
Sure.
So that's my only concern, was the two spots where the water is running in along my property. And if that's taken care of, then everything's going to be fine. But I just wanted to tell the planning board so that if we do have a problem in the future, that we can address it.
So Caroline, it's
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to call a point of order to you and suggest that you open the public hearing, since we're hearing public comment anyway, that we officially open the public hearing.
all right. So so we'll be returning to the board members in a bit. So are there any other members of the public who would like to comment on the proposal? If so, please identify yourself by name and street address. So I believe that there is no one.
We do not have any public on the line aside from the applicants and the applicants' representatives. And
All right. All right, so I'm going to continue with the board members. So Mr. Fogarty, would you have any questions or comments?
No, I've listened to everything that you've said and all the details that you brought up and the questions that you had, and I don't have any questions at this time. To me, everything looks really well, really good.
All right, thank you. Sue, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. Glenn, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't. I took a ride down by today, and I don't know if I was looking at the right place, but I got an idea where Mr. Couture was talking about, and I understand, you know, that's otherwise nothing that I know to say no good about it, no bad about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Knoll?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, thank you. So Tom, I'm going to return to you. Based on what you've heard, do you have any further comments or questions?
Tom, you are muted.
Got it. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to ask Mr. Lawler, did I hear you to say that you designed for a 50-year storm?
Yes, Mr. Clark, we did design this for a 50-year storm event.
Is that an industry standard? I thought it had to be at least 100.
I know the Department of Environmental Services goes with a 50-year storm event based upon site-specific rainfall data. Again, we designed this in accordance with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. To follow up, Mr. Chairman, I think it would be a good idea. Part of the thing in Michelle's review is to postpone or suspend the public hearing for a peer review, because she did state she's not an engineer, and I'm just wondering if you folks wanted to discuss that at this time.
Sure. So I believe that the idea is that we would have that the proposal would go before the technical review committee and as well go to a third-party engineer for review, who I believe would be Tom, or Jay Stevens on behalf of the town. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I personally am in favor of that proposal. How does the rest? Would other board members comment on that, please? If they have a position.
John, I'll comment on that. I think it's a really good idea to have a technical review committee meeting, as well as have engineering review. Further, I think it's really helpful to the planning board if we could have the applicant respond to the consultant's technical review questions in writing, just so that we have, you on record with your responses to those questions. I think that would be really helpful. And also, I have a question for the applicant, which is in reference to the runoff in the construction phasing and the number of steps and criteria and what have you regarding silt fencing and all this. So you've started clearing the site. Have you installed silt fencing, or are there other remediation items installed to help filter and contain the water that's going on there?
Yes, so we installed erosion control matters surrounding the entire property. We use the stump grindings that is always approved with SWEP plans. So that is all installed. And what we did was the site contains of quite a bit of clay underneath, which allows the water just to run right quickly to Mark's property. So what we did is put sand down. So now when it rains, the sand soaks up most of the rainwater, slowing the runoff to his properties quite a bit.
And the sand doesn't just run off with the water?
Nope. Nope, it's been staying in place. And we have a pile of erosion chips on site. So if we see, I've been taking walks out just periodically, and if I see any breaks in the berm, we've just been fixing them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I think at this time I would entertain a motion to suspend the public hearing and continue the hearing to the next planning board meeting, to allow for the technical review committee to look at it, to have a third-party engineer review, and for the applicant to respond in writing to the concerns raised by Michelle Mears. Would someone like to make make that motion, or?
Kevin Haynes will make that motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Yeah, there's a second.
Okay, all right. I see, Sue. All right, so all in favor say aye.
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 You need to,
Aye.
See what-
you need to do a roll call vote.
Okay, that's right. I was thinking about that. Okay, Mr. Haynes, what is your position on the motion? Yay or nay?
Yay.
All right. Mr. Fogarty, yay or nay?
Yay.
Sue, Natasha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Glenn, Chase, yay or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Knowles, yay or nay?
Yay.
And Caroline, you're a non-voting member, right? Or
Well, I am a voting member, and you have your alternates voting. So we're all over the place, but that's okay. I'll be in there for a yay.
all right, now it's also yay. All right, so it's unanimous. All right. Do we need to schedule the next planning board meeting at this time?
That's regularly scheduled. The next regularly scheduled meeting would be for Tuesday.
June 2nd, right?
Okay. All right.
With
So
You could amend your motion to say that you're suspending the public hearing and that you're continuing the application to the next meeting, and that would cover any changes in date. If for some reason we don't meet as scheduled next month.
again, Sarah, please repeat that phrase.
You can amend your motion to say that you're proposing a motion to suspend the public hearing and to continue the application to the next meeting of the board without specifying a date in case for some reason we don't meet as regularly scheduled next month. If you do that, then you won't have to renotice it because it will just carry to the next, publicly noticed meeting.
All right. So, at the risk of being erring on the side of caution, I would entertain a motion to amend the previous motion to suspend the public hearing and continue the application to the next meeting of the planning board. Would someone like to make that motion and to second it?
Kevin Haynes will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right.
Richard will
The
second
list
that.
again. Now, Mr. Haynes, are you in favor or against the motion?
Yay.
Okay, all right. Mr. Fogarty, yay or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Natasha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Chase, yay or nay?
Yay. Yay.
Mr. Knowles, yay or nay?
Yay.
And Caroline, yay or nay?
Yay.
And I'm also yay. All right, so it's unanimous. All right. All right. So I believe this concludes this portion of the meeting in regard to the Greenview Drive project.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Waller from Norway Plains. On behalf of Stephen Cantwell, I'd like to thank you and the members of the board for allowing me to present this case tonight, as well as granting me some time change to teleport myself from the town of Barrington to the town of Rollinsford. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your patience with us tonight.
Mr. Lawler and Mr. Cantwell, if the technical review committee or for the next planning board meeting, if there are materials that you would like to email me that I can share my screen and present to the technical review committee members, I would be happy to do that. And that way we know that we're all looking at the same thing, if you would find that helpful.
Great, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you both. All right, I believe that concludes, we've hit all items on the agenda for tonight. Is that right, Caroline?
I believe we have, yes, sir. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, is there a second?
Second?
And Sarah, do we need to do a roll call vote on the motion to adjourn?
Mhm. Yes.
All right. So, Kevin, yay or nay on the motion to adjourn?
Chairman,
Richard, yay or nay on the motion to adjourn?
It's a yay.
Sue, yay or nay on the motion to adjourn?
Yay.
Mr. Chase, yay or nay on the motion to adjourn?
Yay.
Mr. Knowles, yay or nay on the motion to adjourn?
Yay.
And Caroline, yay or nay on the motion to adjourn?
Yay, and thank you all.
Thank you all for your patience with me. This is not an easy process, especially by remotely. So thank you all very, very much. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.